Hey, sorry about the delay. We'll see you, everyone. I gotta get started like this. I gotta send out the notifications. We're about to get started right after this. Thank you for joining. No, this is live, Guru. This is not a repeat. This is live. And by the way, guys, I was having multiple technical difficulties, so I apologize for the delay. But yeah, everything that I'm putting in here is brand spanking new, all live, baby. CO, Sister Beth, I'm glad you can make it. King Third, what up? Yeah, my apologies about the delay, everybody. Willie in the building. OCO, everybody, thank you for joining. I really appreciate that. My apologies once again about the delay. I'm sending out my last few notifications. Thank goodness everything came out on time, man. I really appreciate this. I appreciate everybody for joining. Almost at 1,500. I appreciate that. Thank you. To watch all of my exclusive content not featured here on my channel, log on to my website at imjustheretomake.com/films. CO, how y'all doing? I like to see, everybody shouting out the state where they're located. Don't be shy. Shout out where you at. Shout out where you at. That's good. That's good. All right, so we got a lot to talk about here. We got a lot to talk about. I hope everybody's ready. I know I am. I'm tired, but we're gonna make this happen. We definitely gonna make this happen. Do things the legit way. That's what I'm about. All right, so let's see what we got here. So let me begin. I'm glad everything working out, and I see the levels are looking good. So I'm about to get started right now. So CO everyone. I know it's been a while since the last time we saw each other live, but I'm happy to be back. I'm very thankful for you all joining me today. I really appreciate that. Now, of course, I wanted to go live yesterday, but I forgot that YouTube has since changed their UI yet again. So I needed some time to get used to everything in front of me, and here we are now. So that's the plus side of it. And let me also thank you all that have been supporting me over the years with your much appreciated contributions towards me, my cause, and my content that I present to the public, because that enables me to continuously present this publicly verifiable evidence of documentation concerning various parts of our history to you guys, along with traveling and video documenting places or areas that most of you may not have witnessed yet. I hope you get a chance to do so. So thank you all. Thank you very much for your continued support. I really appreciate that. And let me give a very, very special thank you and shout out to my beautiful wife for putting up with these long ass hours of researching with me and me being a headache at times while also managing the duties of being my wife and the mother of our beautiful children. Wide out, my love. Almost 16 years now. And we are and will continue to go strong together. I appreciate you, baby. And so now, they go to the computer acting up. Well, it's not acting up, but it's the fans start generating every time. It never fails. Every time I go live, I hear the fans. Why my lips all shiny? Drink a little bit. About to get started. Now, in between is, I'm probably gonna be taking some breaks so I could drink something. And we live, baby. All right, so then I'm gonna be using this board, so I gotta get used to this. So when you see these transitions, if I make a mistake, just know, hey, man, I'm getting used to it. I'm not a live streamer per se. Nothing like that. We're gonna make it work. We're gonna make it work, baby. Okay. Okay, I need to bring that down. Right. All right. We'll bring that back up, actually. Okay. That's good, and that one's clear. Okay, so I don't know why the camera keeps shaking like that. Maybe because I'm hitting the table or something. I don't know. But oh, let me switch the transition. Let's do this. That's hot. Okay, that worked out. Okay. Should have moved it over a little bit, but it's okay. We're going to deal with all of this, man. Look, it's been a minute. I'm knocking the rust off. Y'all bear with me. We got a lot to cover today, though. I'm glad everything's working out. I'm glad everything looks good on my side. Levels is good. So, all right, let's get right into this. Give me a second here. Okay. Yep. All right. So I'm gonna be pulling stuff up where you guys can see at the same time with me, and I hope it come out clear. I hope it does. And if not, if we need to run back over some of this stuff, just leave it in the comments, guys, and let me know. And of course, I don't have a problem with going over this stuff again. I mean, I went over this stuff in the past already, but it's time to bring it back up. And of course, I have a lot more documentation that I was holding on to. My wife did some research as well on these topics as well, and she put in some work with me to get this stuff done. So you already know what I'll be covering today, as far as the title of the video, or the title of the live stream rather, is concerned. And to those of you who were y'all were in the comments claiming that you are blood relative to Harriet or Nat, stop welling. Because you and I both know you're lying. And by the time the end of this live stream comes, so will everybody else. So now I take it that all of you have watched the videos I re-released these past few days on both Harriet Tubman and Nat Turner. So I would consider this a follow-up to each of those videos. Okay. If you haven't watched those videos just yet, that's fine. Because it's not wrong with watching an educational video more than once. And I'll leave it like that. So let's jump straight into it. Now, let's start with Harriet Tubman during this live stream, because my wife and I presented evidence of documentation to you all on screen in that particular video. And again, I highly recommend that you watch it if you haven't done so by now, because I shared multiple historic receipts, records, and publicly verifiable evidence of documentation surrounding the congressional creation of the fictional character named Harriet Tubman. Why the story changes every year, why she really had no siblings, why her name was changed, and why she was chosen by the government to be on the $20 bill. Okay. And also why they did not find her father's house that was allegedly located in Maryland sometime this year. Anyway, I also shared detailed information concerning the truth about the Underground Railroad being an actual transit system. And I did this years ago, but now you guys are telling me that Amazon Prime came out with a documentary. I'll go look at it. I think it was a documentary or some type of movie talking about the Underground Railroad being an actual transit system. But I'm sure people out there listening to me, you know, they taking notes. I'm happy, you know, that that's happening, because a lot more people need to wake up. A lot more people need to know the truth. Like, I'm tired of being taught lies. I'm tired of being fed bull crap. Like, I'm against all of that, guys. I'm really about the real truth, because who else to tell our story but us? Okay. So, yeah, and that actual transit system has been in existence for centuries, and I mean centuries, even before these pale faces came over here on the boat. And they have no correlation with any of those safe houses, okay, as history so loves to claim. Okay. In fact, in my video on Harriet Tubman, I shared the public law directly from Congress that enabled the National Park Service Department and the Secretary of the Development of the Department of Interior to literally select any random dwelling that they felt was best suited to be deemed as and furthermore utilized as a historical site for the implementation of the indoctrinating stories surrounding slavery in America and the Underground Railroad. By way of the, what were they called? The National, let me see if I can pull this up. It was the National Center for the Study of Afro-American History and Culture Society. Once again, that was the National Center for the Study of Afro-American History and Culture Society. They created and cultivated these stories to make it seem as if they were true, but they were all, in fact, fictional, straight fictional. Like, for example, and I'm about to pull this up for you. In these affidavits that I displayed on screen in the Harriet Tubman video, that was said to have been allegedly written in her presence, Harriet Davis what you know as Harriet Tubman. You see, should be popping up now. She oddly shares her entire story throughout these documents, and I say oddly because this step was not necessary for her to do in order to be granted a pension for her being married to her late husband. It was unnecessary. And hold on, y'all. Hold up. Whoever calling me, hold up. And according to these documents alone, she mentions everything in detail about herself. But she did not once mention her original name being Minty, nor her name being changed from Minty to Araminta Ross, as some of you may assume. Okay, there is no evidence of her original name being either of these aliases, just fictional stories that were all told by authors and or movie script writers, period. Okay, and according to these documents, hold on. Okay, and according to these documents, Harriet has, let me see, Harriet has admitted that she didn't have any children by neither of her husbands. She stated, quote, "I never had any children or child by the soldier," referring to her first husband, "nor by John Tubman." Clearly. I mean, if she wrote this, that's what she's saying. So, let me sip this tea then. So how can any of you be allegedly related to her by bloodline, as you claim, when you can't even confirm her real original name? Okay, nor does she have any offspring to carry her bloodline into the next generations to come. Look, you can't. You just can't. But you know what you can do? You can find a family that's willing to be paid a large sum of money to act as if they are blood related to Harriet. Who would do such a thing? The same people that were ordered by Congress to create the story to begin with. Oh, and they also had to find some family pictures that were left unclaimed over the years by their original family members, because our people still nowadays are so far behind on conducting genealogy research by records of their individual families that they continuously allow strangers to tell them who they are without any hesitation or room for questioning its accuracy or validity. And nowadays it's worse, because our people have become too damn comfortable with some stranger's point of view or opinion that they somehow believe that a genealogy DNA test can actually tell them their historical genetic makeup overall, when that technology can't exist without digging up each of the graves of their own family members here in America first. You got to dig up each one. Because see, look, I really want y'all to think about this. Are they comparing your data with the deceased? Absolutely not. They tell you that you are limited to comparing your data with other living people. So they are limited to just comparing your data with other living people, period. It stops right there. So you can't determine someone's historical background by comparing traits of other living people today. It doesn't work like that. There's nothing historic about that method. Straight up. There's nothing historic about it. So what makes you think it's actually real now? Because you see other people doing it? These people don't know your family's history. These people do not know your family's history. Nor can they tell you the name of your fifth-time great-grandmother, for example, without any historical form of documentation. They can't tell you that. So to go back to what I was saying, since you're satisfied with the stranger's graduation evaluation form as your historical genetic makeup, the government has made it law, right up under your nose, to hand select a random family portrait and say that's Harriet Tubman right there. Uncritically now. Uncritically. That's sad. For example, hold on, let me pull this up. I got an example. According to Cornell University Library, this is in the Division of Rare Manuscript Collections. Listen to that. Rare and Manuscript Collections. In 2002, mind you, their description of this photo says, photograph of Harriet Tubman and 7 Negro tenants. Undated. Once again, photograph of Harriet Tubman and 7 Negro tenants. Undated. And then the government decides to add more to the story of Harriet, and even this picture 3 years later on 8/31/2005 by way of, guess who? The National Park Service, claiming that this is a photo of Nat Turner and her adopted daughter and her adopted daughter, her husband, and 5 other friends. And then it says that one of those friends is allegedly the granddaughter of, listen to this, Harriet Tubman's brother, John Stewart. So you got to be aware of the story to understand why this is totally incorrect. Okay? I mean, to the point where you could catch them in so many lies, because according to Harriet Tubman's original biography that was written by the Quaker from Geneva, named Sarah Bradford that I went over during the video of Harriet Tubman. Harriet's alleged siblings were one second. Let me get this up here. Lena in 1808, Mariah Riddy in 1811, Soft, I think I'm pronouncing that right, in 1813, Robert in 1816, then Minty or Harriet in 1822, then Ben in 1823, then Rachel in 1825, then Henry 1830, and then it was Moses in 1832. That's it. That's it. She never had a brother named John. Never. And they never carried the surname Stewart in their family neither. And that's according to the original author of her story. So I'm telling you, when I'm gonna expose it all. When I see something fraud, I'm gonna call it out. And that should make you ask some questions like, so did the family decide to come up with her brand new sibling and brand new surname that hasn't been recorded until 2005? And all of these different stories should make you wonder, does the family get any compensation for the multiple books and movies that have been created surrounding this Nat Turner? I mean, the Harriet Tubman story? The answer is no. In fact, in the video, I informed you who gets compensated by law in Harriet's name, or estate rather. And those people are definitely not related to her. Nor have they even met her a day in their life. Because, tell me this, how can you even meet a person that has never existed before? I'm gonna say it again. How can you even meet a person that has never existed before? And I'm gonna answer that for you by the use of your imagination. So look, I put those records on screen, guys. Put those records on screen. All those affidavits. If you want copies of the records that I have on Harriet Tubman, subscribe to my Patreon. Inbox me on Patreon. Every day, I put them out. Okay. Now, let's get straight into this. First of all, number one, let's start off like this. Anybody that's claiming to be a descendant of Nat Turner, of the character, you said that right, of the character, Nat Turner, the lion. Just like how many people out there claiming to be descendants of some African warriors, like the Zulu tribe, for example, just because they're familiar with the stories told to them about the Zulu tribe, maybe when in war battles, or may have some form of royalty out there in Africa. So They just want to fit in a crowd of people that have absolutely no idea who they are. And yet they have the nerve to call themselves kings and queens. Not realizing that those terms were not even utilized in places like Africa, for example, because most of the African natives can only speak their native tongues to begin with. Y'all gotta pay attention. Gotta pay attention. Now, in my re-release version of my video concerning Nat, I played a clip of a news broadcast. And in this clip, there was a guy by the name of Bruce Turner claiming to be the great-great-great-grandson of Nat Turner. And this is sad, honestly. It is. It's sad. It's sad. It's sad. But anyway, he goes on and shows a binder that could have been considered his family's portfolio. Then he came prepared to show you a picture of Nat Turner on national television, mind you, as if the editors at the news station couldn't just simply Google an image of Nat Turner, since one doesn't exist anywhere. Oh man. They could have just used what they found on Google. Or maybe it would be looked as more authentic if an alleged descendant of Nat would bring his family's portfolio and hold it up for the camera to see, or rather the public. I meant to say the public. Hold it up for everybody to see, in order to set the tone, as if he's somehow creditable now. But see, the picture he decides to show the public is an illustration drawn by an artist, which was strictly drawn for, hold on, let me pull this up, which was strictly drawn for the attention, or for the intention to be published inside of the book entitled The Negro in Our History by Carter G. Woodson on the date of January 1922, according to the Library of Congress. January 1922. So in 1922, the artist knows exactly how Nat Turner looks if no previous picture of Nat existed before? Of course not. So what did he use to portray this image of Nat Turner? His imagination. Right? Am I right or wrong? Let me pull this up. Because not only that, let me pull this up real quick. All right. According to Thomas Gray, the lawyer who allegedly sat with Nat while he was in jail in order to record Nat's alleged voluntary statement of guilt, he published inside of his Confessions of Nat Turner in 1831, documenting that, quote, "We, the undersigned, members of the court, convened at Jerusalem on Saturday, the 5th day of November, 1831, for the trial of Nat, alias Nat Turner, a Negro slave, late the property of Putnam Moore, deceased, do hereby certify that the confessions of Nat to Thomas R. Gray was read to him in our presence. Listen to that. And that Nat acknowledged the same to be full, free, and voluntary. Now, it's a few things I want to point out here. First of all, this confirms that the name Nat Turner is an alias. And to those of you that don't know what an alias is, it means a false name. A name totally different from a person's birth name. This also means that the surname Turner is not his actual last name. See? So that great-great-great-grandson named Bruce Turner is being paid to act as if he's a descendant of Nats, when it's strictly all done for the purpose to stroke your imagination. Now, within the same quote I just read, it indicated that the confessions of Nat Turner were read to him, and then he acknowledged it all voluntarily. Again, they were read to him and then acknowledged, and then he acknowledged them voluntarily. This should sound familiar to many people who have watched those bad guy, good cop shows, or maybe have experienced this particular situation firsthand. I'm gonna give you an example. Let's just say when you're at a police station for questioning, their job is to discover your motives and force you to confess. But in most cases, as some of you may know, the officers who are doing the questioning will actually be doing the confessing for you, to the point where they will manipulate you into agreeing to, let's say, a plea bargain, or manipulate you forcefully into the illusion of you now somehow being guilty of the charges that's pending against you. Boxing you in the corner with stories or scenarios they created for you to be agreed upon. And they turned around and said that Nat voluntarily agreed to these confessions that were written for him after he allegedly murdered a mammoth amount of people. How does that make sense? And if these were actually Nat Turner's confessions to the lawyer Thomas Gray, then why was it copyrighted 5 days later, on November 10th, 1831, as if it's a book and can be sold because there is a profit to be made of an alleged murderer's confession? Uh-oh. Yo, oh man. Here it is. Here it is right here. On the second document of this collection, it reads, and I'm gonna quote this now, the District of Columbia, to wit, be it remembered that on this 10th day of November, Anno Domini, that's AD for short, 1831, Thomas R. Gray of the said district deposited in this office the title of a book, which is in the words as following: The Confessions of Nat Turner, the leader of the late insurrection in Southampton County, Virginia, as fully and voluntarily made to Thomas R. Gray in the prison where he was confined, and acknowledged by him to be such when read before the court of Southampton, with the certificate under seal, listen to this, of the court convened at Jerusalem, November 5th, 1831, for his trial. Also, an authentic account of the whole insurrection, with lists of the whites who were murdered and of the Negroes brought before the court of Southampton, and their sentence, etc., the right whereof he claims as proprietor, in conformity with an act of Congress entitled, quote, an act to amend the several acts respecting copyrights. There you go. And so it was copyrighted by the clerk of the district court for the District of Columbia, named Edmund J. Lee, on November 10th, 1831. So, like I mentioned in my previous videos about this situation, Thomas Gray saw that a profit was to be made by printing these so-called Confessions of Nat Turner, in which, if he had all rights to do so, then it shouldn't be any issues, right? But let me pull this up. According to this Liberator newspaper, that's the name of the company, published on December 17th, 1831. I'm gonna read this now. December 17th, keep this in mind. Quote, these confessions occupy 23 pages and 12 MO. See, I'm not sure if that's month or what. I'm not sure. It could have been talking about, I'm not sure why they said 12 MO like that, as if it was saying 12 months. I'm not sure what that meant, but just listen to this. These confessions occupy 23 pages and are stated to have been fully and voluntarily made to Thomas Gray in the prison where Nat was confined. An addition of 50,000 copies has been printed in Baltimore. This boy was moving in order to get this money, which will only serve to rouse up other leaders and cause other insurrections. So you know it's more than one leader? By creating among the blacks admiration for the character of Nat and a deep, undying sympathy for his fate, we advise the grand juries in the several slave states to indict Mr. Gray and the printers of the pamphlet forthwith. That's the newspaper company talking. So you know they got some political schemes going on. It's still to this very day, by the way. Notice how also they refer to Nat as a character, and Thomas Gray's book as a pamphlet. Okay, now I know, you know, a pamphlet and a book are the same, but let me point something out here. Okay, let me point something out. 4 days prior to this Liberator news article being published, let me pull something else up real quick. This was 4 days prior. 4 days prior to this Liberator news article, The New York Spectator published an article dated December 13th, 1831, under the subtitle, The Confessions of Nat Turner. Now, what's very important to note here is that they begin this article by stating, quote, Mr. T.R. Gray's palm play of The Confessions of Nat Turner, the leader of the late insurrection in Southampton, has been published at Baltimore. It makes 22 pages. Okay, that was a discrepancy also, but I want you to notice how to use the word palm play. Not pamphlet, palm play, which is not a typo. It's an actual word. It's a French word. This word means satire in English. Which is another way of saying to ridicule someone or to over-exaggerate insults to already existing injuries. And it's funny because this alone gives you the context to the agenda surrounding these completely fictional characters like Nat Turner. These types of stories, or propaganda rather, are purposely created with the sole intent to cause raging emotions of retaliation and or to keep the public at bay in a state of fear. And we can all attest to this method of manipulative programming because we can recall many examples of these same methods being utilized against the public still to this very day. Like, for example, the case surrounding the murder of George Floyd, and every other case that shares that same outcome consistently. What happened down at the Capitol while Trump was on his way out the office. Oh, and let me pull this out, because we can't count this one out neither. I mean, look, you get the point. You get the point. It's like a broken record that just continues to repeat at the same mark. The question is, how long are you willing to continue to allow this all to happen repeatedly? Want some changes to happen, we got to make the changes for ourselves. We can't just sit around and wait for somebody else when we know we could do it on our own. There's no excuse. We could do this on our own. Shout out to the moderators holding it down. I see you. Now, I also want you to make note of something very important during this time period. These so-called slave insurrections. Can anyone in the chat guess what was going on simultaneously? So the question I'm gonna ask again. The question is, during this time period of these so-called slave insurrections, I need somebody to tell me in the chat what was going on simultaneously. And I'll give you a hint. Yeah, I'll give you a hint. Now, I mentioned in my video on Nat Turner, hopefully you've seen that, I said that there were multiple Indian raids occurring all across the nation, and especially in Virginia. Do you know what I was referring to? What am I referring to? Now, come on now, while you ponder on that for a second, let me let y'all ponder on that for a second. Here's something else to think about. This was also during the same time period where multiple religious groups like the Quakers and other missionaries, for example, campaigned to governors and even the president of that time to enforce new rules and regulations that would eventually lead to running the Indians off of their own lands to some newly acquired lands along the coast of West Africa. The ultimate organization that eventually accomplished this goal, or that goal, but not in large numbers, don't let them lie to you, was the American Colonization Society. And the millions of the Indians that chose to stay were threatened by the president and by an act of Congress with the Indian Removal Act that lasted much, much longer than 1830. The Indian Removal Act of 1830. And still, many of our ancestors stayed home and fought with resistance. And that's what I was looking for someone in the chat to mention, by the way. So now think about this. Now, I want you to keep in mind that all of this was going on during the said time period. So the news media of that time was none other than the newspapers. So they created stories and characters in hopes to quell the revolts and cause confusion and to spread fear amongst those who can read English. I hope you don't believe me, because I'm about to give you an example. My example is, I'm gonna tell you right now, Thomas Ruffin, that was his middle name, Thomas Ruffin Gray, was not the first to create the story of Nat Turner. It was created by the power of a political newspaper company. So this is my example. This political newspaper company was known as the Constitutional Whig of Richmond, Virginia. And they published this August, hold on, let me see. Let me pull it up. Okay. Yep. Constitutional Whig was the name of the newspaper. Constitutional Whig of Richmond, Virginia. They published the article on August 29th. Listen, August 29th, 1831, which was way before Thomas allegedly sat with Nat Turner himself. Now, the newspaper company, this newspaper company is also known as the Richmond Whig. So they had a few different names. And in a letter from its senior editor, dated Thursday, August 25th, which was just a few days after Nat was said to have started his insurrection, it goes to state the following. It says, Jerusalem, Saturday 27th. Quote, my own impression is, listen to that. My own impression is that they acted under the influence of their leader, Nat, a preacher and a prophet among them, that even he had no ulterior purpose, but was stimulated exclusively by fanatical revenge, and perhaps misled by some hallucination of his imagined spirit of prophecy. Two days later, same article, but his same article. They just did different dates, put them all together. Monday, the 29th. It says the General Broadnax, I think that's how you pronounce that, or Broadnax, of the Greenville Militia. General Broadnax of the Greenville Militia. He stated that his officers that he sent to Southampton reported back stating that the scene of the late murders is perfectly quiet now. And then he said, quote, all the party have been killed or taken, with the exception, as is believed from the statement of prisoners and other information, of from 4 to 5 who had retreated to a swamp and will probably be taken. And then right after that, immediately right after that, the very next sentence, it says, Nat, the ringleader, who calls himself general, pretends to be a Baptist preacher, a great enthusiast, declares to his comrades that he is commissioned by Jesus Christ, and proceeds under his inspired directions that the late singular appearance of the sun was the sign for him, etc., etc. Is arming the number not yet taken. The story of him having been killed at the bridge near Jerusalem and of the 2 engagements there unfounded, meaning they don't have no evidence of that. It is believed he cannot escape. So they don't know for sure. They don't know for sure, but we could tell that the senior editor wrote that part because what follows next? It says, the general is convinced from various sources of information that there has existed no general concert among the slaves. Circumstances impossible to have been feigned demonstrate the entire ignorance on the subject. The editor ain't know. Okay, so in response to the senior editor's manipulative curiosity, that's what it was, this militia general completely debunks the existence of a ringleader amongst the Negro slaves. Oh, and did you notice how that surname Turner wasn't used by this newspaper editor? And then the skeletal story of Nat by Thomas Gray was not only based upon this newspaper's editor, but it also, I think it was published by Thomas Gray 3 months later, allegedly. And I say allegedly because according to the digitized version of the satire, it was printed in 1832, which was the very next year. So now, with all of that being said, I want to cover something that I didn't get a chance to cover back in 2017 when I retrieved this information. Okay? What I'm about to pull up, 1 second. Okay. I'm about to pull up this document from the, here we go, from the Southampton County Board of Supervisors, dated February 25th, 2013. Listen. It's called Project Update, Nat Turner 1831, Southampton Insurrection Trail, and Restoration of the Rebecca House. And I'm gonna read this. It says, quote, as you are aware, Southampton County agreed to service as grantee, fiscal agent, and project sponsor for the Southampton County Historical Society's development of the Nat Turner 1831 Southampton Insurrection Trail. In July of 2010, which was 3 years prior to this project, prior to this document, we were awarded $420,000 transportation enhancement grant to connect travelers, tourists, students, and residents with sites associated with the Nat Turner Rebellion. Listen to this. The project will include fabrication of orientation exhibits. They gonna make it up. Installation of, wait, where am I? Installation of the interpretive signage, acquisition of easements, construction of turnouts, and production of a brochure and map. The Rebecca Vaughn House, located on the Museum of Southampton History campus in Cortland, will function as a visitor center and trailhead. Here, the public will learn about the rebellion, explore the route traveled by Turner and his insurgents. How you know what route he traveled? And discover period artifacts, including Turner's sword, listen to that crap, and the lock from his jail cell. They kept his lock. So, oh no, let me finish up. It says, since the fiscal year 2008, Southampton County has contributed an aggregate sum of $133,750 towards this project. That was back in 2008. Attached for your reference, please find a copy of Project Long Range Plan, which will provide you with an excellent overview of the project. Now, I just went down and read that bottom part, and because I wanted you all to see that this was all made up. And I'm gonna go further into this right now. Let me see. Which one should I start with? Let me start with the Rebecca Vaughn house, since they want to use this all the time. Let me pull this up real quick. All right. The Rebecca Vaughn house. All right, so in this document it says, the Rebecca Vaughn house is a 1.5, you have to listen to this closely, guys. The Rebecca Vaughn house is a 1.5 story frame federal dwelling built approximately 1795. Preservation of the Rebecca Vaughn house required it to be relocated from its original site on Borough Road to 5 miles away from Cortland. See, this is the reason why I couldn't find it when I went down there. The building was donated by the Pittman family in 2004 when it was moved to the current site. The Rebecca Vaughn house was deemed significant for placement on the National Register of Historic Places, as it is the only remaining structure where landowners were killed during the 1831 Southampton insurrection. Keep that in mind. They said that's the only one remaining. Okay. Now, I want to point out some discrepancies within their own document right here, because in the section, pull this up. Okay. In the section labeled Project Background, it was stated that the project truly began, listen to this, in 2002, when the Rebecca house was donated by the Pittman family to the Southampton County Historical Society. Now, they just said 2004. What? Make up your mind. They said 2004. Which one is it? Is it 2002 or 2004? Now, the 1831 Southampton insurrection project truly began in 2002 when the Pittman family donated the Rebecca Vaughn house to the Southampton County Historical Society. And they never tell you about who's the Pittman family. Who was that? And how they get that Rebecca Vaughn house? This how you know it's cap. They don't want to talk about that. That's important. All right, so they just donated this house. Okay. This National Register of Historic Places property was the last site where landowners were killed during the revolt. I mean, how can you know that? How do you know that? Who told you that? Where y'all getting this from? How you know that this was the last one? Oh, and speaking of National Register of Historic Places, let me pull this up too. Dated back in the month of May 2008. Yeah. Yep. Month of May 2008. The Virginia Department of Historic Resources, the MAAR Associates Inc., and the NRHP and the National Park Service created and released a survey documented as, quote, Historic Structures Survey of Southampton County, Virginia, where they literally selected houses to be utilized as fabricated historical places for tourists and other visitors. Now I'm going to read this to you. Watch this. The abstract. Beginning in late 2006, and extending to 2007, a project by the Ottery Group on behalf of Southampton County and the Virginia Department of Historic Resources was undertaken to complete and correct a comprehensive survey of historic structures within Southampton County, Virginia. The project involved editing and completing previously compiled documentation forms, checking maps and photographic labels, and completing the final survey report. The project also included the documentation of a minimum of 15 historic resources, 10 at the Renaissance level and 5 at the intensive level. The final task is a scripted PowerPoint presentation about the history and architecture of Southampton County. The previous survey was conducted between 1999 through 2001 by the MAAR Associates Incorporated, whose research staff surveyed a total of 196 historical properties located throughout the county. Of these 196, they saying 10 were recorded to the intensive level. In addition, structures over the age of 50 years were circled on a topographic map, but not recorded on the IPS form. Ten architectural sites were recommended as eligible for listing on the National Register of Historic Places. They selected them. They said, all right, that one, that one. That's how they were doing it, just plucking them. Picking whatever one they want, trying to get all the land. We're gonna get into that at a later date. But that's how they was taking the land from you. With moves like this. What was that? 10 architectural sites were recommended as eligible for listing on the National Register of Historic Places, as was the Cortland Potential Historic District. Recommendations for the further study, and for preservation planning in Southampton County are also presented. Okay. Stay with me now. I'm gonna tell you why they're doing all this, why they did all this. Now, what's interesting to know here are the 10 houses they chose or selected, rather, under the intensive level. I'm going to show you all of the houses they have pictured in this document real quick. Now look at this. Look at these houses real closely. Notice how each of these houses is in excellent condition. These houses don't look 1790 nothing. With the exception of this particular one right here, which is said to be the Rebecca Vaughn house. It's a huge difference between this house and all the rest of them. But here's the problem with that, okay? Because it says, as the description up under this one, up under this house, they all had their own descriptions. Hold on. It says the federal style Wait, no, that's the wrong. Oh no, that's right. The federal-style Catherine Whitehead house, where Nat Turner's group killed 4 family members, and the Rebecca Vaughn house, where they committed their last murders, are examples of a smaller hall and parlor type houses. The Rebecca Vaughn house has been listed on the NRHP. Now, mind you, I mean, they didn't show you a picture of this Catherine Whitehead house. They don't show you a picture of that right here. They show you a picture of this Rebecca Vaughn house, alleged Rebecca Vaughn house. And the reason why I'm saying that is because, if you could recall, I showed you in my Nat Turner video that there were 2 houses that had been removed, okay? So I caught them right on time when I was in Southampton in 2017. I caught them right on time. I caught them making an executive decision to swap houses when they thought no one was looking. Their agenda was to have a bigger house, but similar in style, in order for people to walk inside. So again, they're just making it up as they go along. Okay? Now, and here's how I know that. Look, as far as this point is concerned, I'm gonna put this on screen for you. Hold on. I want you to see this. All right, here we go. So look, when comparing the 2 houses side by side, you can see 2 room windows upstairs on one house and 3 room windows on the other. Both have well, no, okay, go look at the bottom of them. They both have brand new foundations. Brand new. That's new brick. Indicating that they were both selected at one point. Now, according to that document I just read earlier from 2013, I referenced earlier that the Rebecca Vaughn house. No, I didn't read that earlier. Hold on. Let me pull that up so I can read it to you. So in this document right here, it says, quote, the Rebecca Vaughn house is a 1.5 story frame federal dwelling built approximately 1795. I think I read that, but this is the part I didn't get a chance to read. It says there are 2 rooms downstairs, one on either side of a central hall, and 2 rooms upstairs. Not 3, 2. So we can easily determine that this is not Rebecca's house. I mean, even the picture show you that. Look at the picture. This particular one is like far away, but you can still see that there's 2 windows up there and the other house is wider than this one. And this may very well be the house originally selected to be Rebecca's house, right here. The house with the 3 windows upstairs could be later selected to become the future Catherine Whitehead house. I'm just saying they didn't show it for a reason. Okay, which should also, well, I would say that. I'm good with saying that. Yeah, because it's a possibility. Because with them selecting any house that they want, it's a free for all. Oh yeah, I'm glad I thought about that. And another thing that I think is important to know here is Also in this 2013 project document, let me see if I can pull this up real quick. Cause this is so silly. Hold on. When I saw this, I was like, there you go. It says, quote, the Vaughn family settled in Southampton County during the early 17th century. Thomas Vaughn Jr. inherited 210 acres in the 1790s and constructed his house about the time he married Rebecca Foster. Vaughn died in the early 1800s, leaving his wife to raise their 4 children. Rebecca was still a widow in 1831 and was highly respected throughout the county. Her 2 sons, George and Arthur, lived with her. However, her daughters, Mary and Martha, were married. All of them will play a role in the insurrection. Notice how I say all of them will play a role in the insurrection. I mean, if you're an actor, you gotta play a role. It says, George and Arthur, alongside Rebecca and her niece, Anne Vaughn, were killed by Turner's followers. Mary's, listen to that. They were killed by Turner's followers. Then Mary's husband, Captain John Barrow, was killed in a determined defense of his home, and his wife escaped. Martha was married to the lawyer, John Parker. They owned Parker's Field, where the insurgents first fought the Jerusalem militia. Listen to this. John Parker was assigned to defend Nat Turner during his trial. I'm not making this up. I'm reading it verbatim. So, a family member in which Nat, or rather one of his followers, murders, represents Nat in court as his lawyer during his trial. Does that make sense to y'all? He kills members of this guy, John Parker's family. And he turns right around and represents Nat Turner in court to help him beat his case. That's adding up to you? That ain't adding up to me. Now, in addition to all of that, they also didn't forget to enhance their operational scheme by implementing the educational side of things. I'm gonna say it that way. So in this same document, it says the 1831 Southampton Insurrection Trail is a powerful learning experience. The Museum of Southampton History and the Rebecca Vaughn House will facilitate hands-on, interactive programs for school groups. Virginia Standards of Learning specify that students must learn about slavery, slave revolts, and abolitionism during grades 4, 5, 8, and 11. 4, 5, 8, and 11. Listen to that. Listen to that. The hands-on and place-based learning approach based on the colonial Williamsburg model has proven to be the finest method to reinforce historical themes outside of the classroom setting. Consequently, educational programs offered by the museum will feature an educator dressed as a Southampton citizen or slave in 1832 who will interact with students by engaging them with reproduction items while reinforcing historic themes. Sample programs include Dred Scott and the Causes of the Civil War. Now, you know, if they added these people in here, that they ain't true neither. Confessions of Nat Turner, Anthony Gardner in Liberia, John Brown, Fugitive Slaves and the Underground Railroad, John Brown, A Slave's Life. The strengths of these programs are based on the ability of costumed interpreters to interplay with students. Costumed interpreters are able to reveal meaning and relationships through the subject of objects and firsthand experience, rather than simply communicating factual information. Y'all wasn't gonna give up factual information anyway, so shit. Why not wake it up? Why not make it up? Studies, I'm gonna finish up. Studies, some of which date back to the 1920s, show museums to be effective teaching and learning environments. Between 1879, oh my goodness, correction. Between 1978 and 2008, over 20 studies were conducted on the impact museums had on school students' learning. The results show that in 19 of 20 cases, museums were able to cause significant increases in learning among students. Now, I'm sure many of you who are probably my age or older can recall being, going on them field trips, going to museums galore if you were in public school when you were young. How many of y'all can recall that? Going to the museums to get indoctrinated even more. And they made it seem all fun because you get to interact with all this and blah, 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 blah. It says studies conducted by the College of William and Mary, York County Public Schools, and the Jamestown-Yorktown Foundation documented learning gains among Yorktown fourth graders participating in structured programs with costumed interpreters. Additionally, a study completed by the Virginia Department of Education, the University of Virginia, and Hampton City Schools documented significant learning gains among students using a museum program with costumed staff as compared to traditional classroom instruction. But that's right. If you make it fun for the children, yeah, they gonna fall for it. That's another reason why I'm telling y'all that's still ongoing. Compulsory education still happening. They didn't stop nothing. All he did was update it. Where am I at? Yeah, the Museum of Southampton History will be the only museum in Southampton Roads providing this type of specialized educational activity designed to help fulfill SOL requirements. The hands-on component is reinforced by teaching within a historical event. The place-based approach gives students a sense. The place-based approach gives students a sense of witnessing an actual event. See there? The combination of these techniques creates a desire for students to learn more by being immersed in history. The 1831 Southampton insurrection is addressed in every American history survey textbook. Since most students are not able to visit Southampton County to experience the revolt's history, the Southampton County Historical Society and the WHRO have developed, 40 episodes known as Insurrection Minutes, which detail the causes, events, and impact of Nat Turner's rebellion. The WHRO will use PBS eMedia to stream these segments into every classroom in the nation. Each segment will be supported by lesson plans and classroom activities. The insurrection measures will take students to actual sites associated with the rebellion, that's CAP, and storytelling techniques will provide valuable insights into the revolt's place in the history of slavery. It says, in addition to school-age programming, the Museum of Southampton History will offer bus tours taking participants to various rebellion sites, provide step-on tour guides for buses and school groups, offer lectures on the slave revolt topic, and organize special seminars discussing Nat Turner, Dred Scott, Anthony Gardner, and John Brown. So with all of that indoctrinating going on, I know you got to be wondering, what do they get out of all of this lying? Why would someone do such a thing to a set group of people? And my answer to that will always be to simply follow the money trail. Like, for example, there's a section inside of this document also called Economic Impact. I'm gonna read this to you. It says, the 1831 Southampton Insurrection Trail Project is designed to expand Southampton County's heritage tourism industry. Tourism is the second largest industry in Virginia and is the most widely understood story about the economics of prehistoric preservation. Virginia tourism revenue topped $20 billion in 2011.
I'm just here to make you think.